It's December 9th. We are on day 7 of Massachusetts versus Brian Walshe. Honestly, at this point, I don't know how much more the Commonwealth has because we are now into the scientific evidence from processing the House. And it seems that they have gone really in order of how this was processed and have really done a good job of weaving in witnesses. And we are now to the House. So I think for me, the only thing left after everything from the House, and we have a lot of scientific services. Remember, CSI, or Crime Scene Response, CSR, was there for 2 days. And we've only heard from one of the individuals that responded to the House. I can't stop thinking about that knife that we saw yesterday that looks to me like it was just soaked in bleach. It just looks so damaged. So I'm wondering if there is a rest of a set of knives that we might see. So they've got crime scene services. They've got to talk about the DNA testing. They might have tested some other things for blood. And then what else is there? Jem Mutlu is the only other person I can really think of that we still haven't heard from, that we've heard quite a lot about. And maybe they will be the last witness because Jem, Ana Walshe's former boss, and it seems like family friend, was with them in the hours leading up to when Ana Walshe died. So the real question is going to be, what will be argued for premeditation? And if the defendant testifies, will the nuances of law even matter? Or will everybody just be like, nope, immediately not?
You told us yesterday that there was a screening test conducted on that knife, correct?
Yes.
But there was no confirmatory test, correct?
Did the knife smell like bleach still?
Correct.
It's fair to say then that you, as you sit here today, you can't tell us whether whatever you characterize.
Oh, there's a sweater
as,
today.
Screening test results as possible blood. You don't know if it's blood or not.
That is correct.
And since you didn't do a confirmatory test, you certainly can't tell us that it was blood, correct?
Correct.
And you told us that on item number 1-8, which is the knife, exhibit 215, that
so close.
You otherwise didn't see any visible stains, correct?
Correct.
So is it fair to say, if I understand your testimony from yesterday, that on this knife that was found above the refrigerator, you neither saw any visible stains, red blood stains, and you don't know what it was on the preliminary screening test, whether it was blood or not, correct?
Correct. It was only a screening test positive.
Did you look at the knife, Tipton? Sir, come on.
Positive.
And if you know, Mr. Sheehan, that sample that you collected from that knife was never subjected to any further testing.
Correct.
So there is no evidence whatsoever that that knife had any biological substance on it, like blood at all, right?
Aside from the positive screening test, no.
Court started a little bit late today because court was putting, it seems, in some work to deal with areas of evidence. That was all at sidebar and not for public ears. And then we got into the rest of the crime scene cross-examination, and now we are getting into the DNA. The crime lab batches their process of taking samples and turning them into DNA profiles so that they can be compared. I think every single person from the entire crime lab, not being facetious, who did any part of the step, and there were many because there were so many different things where DNA was tested, and they batched the different steps of that DNA testing. And we have gotten to the point now where we have the known samples from Brian Walshe and Ana Walshe. The court read in a stipulation about those known DNA samples and let us know that back in May of 2018, Brian Walshe and Ana Walshe were both swabbed for DNA by the FBI, and then that swab DNA was kept in storage in Massachusetts, where Brian had his federal art fraud case that was pending. I'm curious about why they took the sample from Ana Walshe, but it doesn't really matter why they took the known sample from Ana. I'm glad that they did, because they swabbed Ana Walshe's cheek. They are not trying to find a known sample in the home. They are using a sample that the FBI collected. And now we have heard from the witness that took those known DNA swabs and turned them into DNA profiles. So I think we've gone through everything that gets us to the point where they can now take all the unknown samples and the 2 known samples and start doing the comparison. I can't imagine what more they have once they do all the DNA comparisons, unless there is more from the crime scene processing of the house, and maybe there is. I'm surprised that for 2 days that crime scene services were out at the home. So far, we've only heard from one person who did crime scene response at the home and took samples. I don't know if we'll hear from any other witnesses or if the Commonwealth is really almost done with their case. So I'm really curious to see what witnesses the Commonwealth has left. Let me know in the comments what witnesses you think are going to be left. So we might be nearing the end of the Commonwealth's case in the next day or two here.
What was the total for the sale, sir?
Total's $245.35.
And how was it transacted? Was it cash or charge?
It looks like 2 store value cards were used.
What are store value cards? And I'm sorry, I was interrupting you.
No, those are just, they're cards. They work just like a gift card would work. Same thing.
And if we could scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's a date and time.
Yes, January 2nd, 2023, 9:44 and 36 seconds in the AM.
So keeping this up on the redemption area, you had mentioned there are store value cards.
Yes.
So with these store value card numbers, were you able to track down when these cards were issued and where?
Yes, we were.
Mr. Roddy, I'm showing you a document. Do you recognize that?
Yes, it's another receipt.
It's another receipt, but is it from HomeGoods in Norwell?
It is not. It's from Marshall's.
And this Marshall's receipt, what does it have to do with the store value cards?
So this looks like a return without a receipt at a Marshall's in Maryland. So when a return is done without a receipt, the customer receives a store value card, a store credit.
And on this receipt, does it denote the last 4 digits of the store value card?
It does.
And so, sir, understanding that, do they bear any similarity to the redemption cards used on your on this receipt that was done on January 2nd?
Yes, it does. On here, it shows the last 4 is 0256, which matched the purchase receipt.
And as a result of being a member of the TGX umbrella, are you able to get access to the Marshall's receipts to find out which card was issued in corresponding to the redemption that was done on January 2nd?
Yes, we can see each brand.
And this is the card that was issued. That was one of the 2 cards that was issued to do that redemption.
Correct.
Mr. Roddy, what's been marked as 253. Where is the location of the Marshalls?
It shows it's in Baltimore, Maryland.
And this is the type of receipt a customer would receive, right? Because it doesn't have the TGX brand at the top?
Correct.
And what is the name of the customer?
Ana Walshe.
And could we scroll all the way down to the bottom? Pause. I'm sorry. So in there, there's issue of merchandise credit. Is that the card that you were speaking of?
It is.
Okay. And could we go all the way down to the bottom? And sir, can you tell us what you see as far as a date and time for the receipt?
Yes, it's December 28th, 2022. And the time is 4:30 p.m.
Mr. Roddy, where is the location of this store that issued the card?
It is Washington, D.C.
And if we could scroll down, Ms. Gilman, how much was the card for? How much was issued as far as a card?
$216.44.
And what are the last 4 digits of the card?
4563.
And if we could continue to scroll down, where it says returned refund, is there a date as far as what is the December 2nd date that we're looking at opposed to a December 28th date?
The December 2nd date would be the date of the original purchase of the merchandise being refunded.
And so the date at the bottom, December 28th, is when the refund was actually issued.
Correct.
All right.
Law Nerd, it is the time of year where you have a lot on your plate. I know I do, which is why I love bringing you sponsors that make life easier. And one of the things that's going to make your life a lot easier is not worrying about all these data breaches. I know there's new ones every time you listen to me talk about today's sponsor, Incogni. You know what you might be concerned about is the DoorDash data breach that just got reported in November that impacted not only customers, but also DoorDash drivers. And DoorDash said that no sensitive information was leaked. However, do you know what was included? Email addresses, phone numbers, physical addresses, and names. It's time to make sure that the data that's getting out there about you is not being used against you, or that data brokers aren't making money selling your information. Once you sign up with Incogni, they go and take down and remove your personal data from multiple sites, and they have automated that for hundreds of these data brokers. But if you need more, Incogni also offers custom removal features where you can send them a link and then get a dedicated privacy expert to get that information taken down. And remember, Incogni is available risk-free for 30 days. That means you can try it out for yourself. And if you aren't happy for any reason, you can get a full refund. We love the family plan, but Incogni has a wide variety of annual plans. And of course, we've got a discount for you. So if you're ready to take back your personal data, it's time to get Incogni. Just go to incogni.com/Emily and use code Emily to get 60% off of annual plans. Let's get back to today's episode. We are at the end of day 7 of the Commonwealth versus Brian Walshe. And it seems, based on the court's statements at the end of court today, that the Commonwealth is very close to finishing their case. I expect that the Commonwealth will be done with their witnesses tomorrow. And tomorrow, Wednesday, December 10th, the jury's going to be coming in an hour later so the court can address some matters with the lawyers. And one of those matters is the out of the presence of the jury voir dire or questioning of Jem Mutlu, who is going to be testifying, it seems, tomorrow. This was a friend of Ana Walshe, a former employer of Ana Walshe, and was the individual with Brian and Ana the night going into the morning of January 1st, New Year's Day. So we are going to see that testimony tomorrow, and we will see what else we have on the docket tomorrow. But the court let the jury know that the evidence may end early for the day tomorrow. So once the Commonwealth, I presume, is done with their witnesses, they will let the defense start their witnesses on Thursday. So we are going to start getting into the defense case this week. The big question for me with the defense is Brian Walshe going to testify? And it seems that he has to. And if he testifies, how long will he be on the stand for? And what is that going to be like? The judge seems to be asking the defense about their opposition to the Commonwealth's motion to keep the defendant's guilty pleas out of evidence. Remember, the jury does not have to determine count 2 and 3. The defendant already pled guilty to count 2 and 3. That was an open plea to the court. The prosecution put an extensive factual basis on the record, and the jury doesn't have to decide counts 2 and 3. They only have to decide count 1, which is a first-degree premeditated murder. When we get to discussion of jury instructions, I am very interested to see what lesser includeds are asked for and what lesser includeds, if any, are given. Because for a first-degree murder, you can have a lesser included of second degree, no premeditation. You can have a vol or an invol, I guess. I don't see how we get to an involuntary manslaughter, but it's really going to depend on what the defendant says. So if the defendant sticks with, I went to go get into bed and I nudged my spouse and they were non-responsive, I don't know if that statement even warrants a voluntary or an involuntary manslaughter instruction, because the voluntary or involuntary manslaughter still intend that some action is taken. It's just the mens rea that changes. So we will see. But the question is going to be what the defendant says and how is the Commonwealth going to argue premeditation on this case? What points are they going to pull out of all the evidence we've seen to argue premeditation? So what did we see at the end of the day today? We went through a ton of scientific evidence. I think it was a very smart kind of evidence sandwich from the prosecution to bring in the video from HomeGoods later, and then maybe some of the other civilian witnesses who knew the victim and the defendant later on, and kind of put all of that scientific evidence together. But of the things they tested and sent out for DNA, it's not surprising to me that most of the DNA came back single source to Ana Walshe, and some of them were mixed sources with both Ana Walshe and Brian Walshe, and some were kind of a littler bit of Brian Walshe, which seemed to indicate to me that those might have been more touch DNA from him. I mean, at some point he had to put on the Tyvex suit and things like that. So it's really hard to keep your DNA from getting places, but seeing Brian Walshe going through HomeGoods, picking out rugs and candles somewhat swiftly on January 2nd and January 4th in the morning hours after 9:30 in the morning fairly quickly was interesting to see. Then he went back and purchased towels and bath mats before he talked to Ana Walshe's work and said that she was missing. And the detail I was not expecting in all of that is that in each of those transactions, he did not pay with credit card. He paid with gift card. 2 of those gift cards were from returns made in Maryland and Washington, D.C. to a Marshall's location. Those returns were made with no receipt, so they took the customer's information, and those returns were made by Ana Walshe. Wild, isn't it? But I wonder if he was trying to evade detection by not using his credit cards. He had used cash at the Lowe's and used cash at the CVS. Or did he just not want to take more money out of the bank account? And so he had some gift cards that weren't going to be used to HomeGoods and just decided to use them. So we will be back tomorrow morning to see what happens and to see some of the civilian witness testimony and see the prosecution rest their case. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss updates on your favorite cases, you're going to need the LawNerd app at lawnerdapp.com. That way you can stay in the loop on the cases that matter most to you, and you never know when you're going to catch feelings for a new case. So make sure you get it for free on iOS and Android. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a Law Nerd.